we've had a couple of moments. I'm just going to jump in by something that was funny that we both remember when Bob Lazar was at the International Congress. And I'll just tell this really quickly.
You want to share this?
Yes, I do. Is that okay?
It was our most tense moment ever, probably. Yeah,
it was, but we got over it. It was
funny.
Fine.
I like it.
In retrospect, it's hilarious. I did a lecture that day. Lazar was there with George Knapp, and I remember being in there. I had just done my lecture, and I thought, I'm going backstage to see Bob Lazar because I'm a speaker at this conference. I'm important. I'm going to go and I want to meet Bob Lazar. And I was like, so I strode in there, and Lazar and Knapp were back there, and they both recognized me, and George called me over. So I was like, great, everything's cool. Lazar and I shook hands really quickly, and I knew I had to be quick. So I gave my camera to Ryan Sprague, our friend who was there. I said, Ryan, take a picture of us right now. And he was taking his sweet time. That was the thing. That's where the whole thing failed. And he's getting this angle, and he reached over the top and went yoink. And I got so mad. I was like, you took my picture away.
Well, I waited. I was waiting for Ryan. And, and this is what's funny. So back to in my defense a little, we were like so paranoid. We didn't even know. George was so freaked out because we didn't even know if he was going to show. He kept going back and forth. And he even said on stage that, he called like the day before and said, I don't think I can do this. And he put it this way. They told me, they reminded me I signed a contract and I could get sued if I don't show up. And then he went, but they did it in a nice way, which is true. I mean, we had to pull that card. It's one of the rare times.
Yeah, and you told me afterward that you were really obligated to protect Lazar, and there was not supposed to be any people. Yeah, I get all that.
But this was what was funny too, because when he was done, that's when I was going to get my moment to say, "Hey, do you got some time to take some pictures with people?" And we did get that moment. So we got our selfies. He's backstage. And then I run out there to grab people like you, because I felt bad. And I was like, okay, I'm going to grab Richard and some other people. I can make it up to him. So we could, and everybody was gone. I couldn't find literally anybody, not even our staff. So very few people got their selfies, but
it's a funny story.
That was kind of funny. It was funny.
I'll never forget the little yoink moment. That was just classic.
I think you even threatened me.
Did I?
You said you're gonna kick my.
Oh, kick your. Did I do that? Really?
But I was not. I was. That would have been cute though. You and I kind of wrestling in the grass outside.
Yeah, we were like absolutely gone down that road. Everyone wants to see that. Anyway, we got through it. It was good. And actually, I just want to say this one thing. Like over the last several years, in particular, especially since TDSA has really come out and made a very big splash in the UFO field. Like you find that the UFO community has gotten very polarized over that. And over enough time, I realized like you and I really saw this in a very similar way. I think we both had fairly sympathetic. It's not like we had rose-colored glasses with that organization, but we were not knee-jerk shouting CIA disinformation. And there are a couple of very, very loud voices in the field. They still are doing this, I think. And we just never really felt that way.
And we also had an advantage in a way, of course, you being a historian, and covering all this for so long, and me having a history covering Bigelow and NIDS and the background there, is that at least you and I were able to recognize this isn't just this one guy, Lou Elizondo, coming out, this ex-intelligent guy saying, this is all the secrets, here's what's going on, kind of like the Richard Doty thing with one person. This was a group, an organization of many people who we've known for years, interviewed for years, been working in this arena for years. You've kind of talked about some of the remote viewing and how put off and some of that going on. And this was this group of people that had been working on this and were behind this whole thing. So we knew, at least, I think you might have been surprised just like I was, that I was surprised I never even knew this was happening, that these guys that Bass was related to this Pentagon program or anything. But
I had no idea.
Right. But we knew the players. So we knew it wasn't in a vacuum. And that's what I think was unfortunate. A lot of people really tried to make this, even when this information came out, people like us are sharing it. People tried to make this, no, this is just this one guy, Elizondo, who's coming out and lying to us and all of this. And that just wasn't the case. It was a group of people that we knew for decades, years. George Knapp, who we mentioned,
Right.
Bigelow, who had been working on this, that we could confirm that, this is a legit thing.
It's really what I've sometimes I now call the Bigelow crowd, which goes back for decades. And I think around Robert Bigelow, but not solely. But people like Hal Puthoff, people like Dr. Kid Green, and John Alexander, and Colm Kelleher, and a little later on Eric Davis, and these people, and there are others as well. The late Edgar Mitchell was absolutely part of that group, and they were at various times often employed by Robert Bigelow, who himself is deeply engaged. And so you see this group of people, like they have been this circle, and they're almost, you could say they're related to the legendary aviary.
Right. A lot of them are the aviary guys.
So it's like an informal collection of different people with various types of security clearances who you can tell like they're friends, and they share what information they've been able to share with each other without breaking their security oaths. And they're all kind of working their way through that maze, trying to get to the center. I had my eye on Hal Puthoff early on, mainly because Hal wrote to me in the year 2000 when my first book came out. Like it was brand new, and he actually told me, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, that he bought something like 40 copies of my book to give out to his colleagues, which just made me fall off my chair. Yeah. So once that happened, I began corresponding with him, not surprisingly, and we ended up really liking each other, and I've always liked him. I respect him, and he doesn't tell me everything that I want to know. He's often very careful about what he says, but I will say that over the years, I trust his integrity with me, and I don't think he's a liar. To me, I don't think he's a liar to other people. I think he's like the other ones. He's trying to get to the center, and I think he's got some information, and there's other information that I think he would like to have confirmed. So, so they've been working their way through this whole scenario for years and years. And, once they connected with Bigelow, they realized this is a guy with some money who's going to help maybe fund some of this research. And I think that's what it's all about. And now through BASS, through TTSA, we're seeing the same type of iteration with a few new people cycling in, but a lot of the same people. It's quite interesting. It's quite fascinating.
And really talking about the future of ufology, the past, becoming the future, in that this group of people that you just talked about, we now know was working with Bigelow for the most part. Not all of these guys. John Alexander wasn't a part of it, but Eric Davis, Hal Puthoff, these guys who had worked with NIDS, some people we heard on the kind of fringe there, like Chris Mellon, who we know has been working with these guys in the background, and Leslie Kane has done some interviews with him to get information out. So, but now these people have kind of created this new reality for us, because if it wasn't their partnership with Tom DeLonge and then Lou Elizondo joining this group, of course, we know behind the scenes now, these guys had been working with Lou Elizondo since 2007, or at least 2010. Lou in particular, but with the Pentagon since 2007. And they've kind of ushered in this new reality, or this new area where we've got, over the last 3 years, regular correspondence or information coming out from the military regarding UFOs. It's all over the place. There's denials and then acceptance and information we never thought would coming out, where at least Navy is saying, yes, those are our videos, those are unidentified. DR4 is saying, we checked in to see if these videos were released when they shouldn't have been. We confirmed that they were released properly, that they weren't classified information, and that ATIP was a UAP research organization. So, and then we have the DoD kind of going back and forth and making different statements all the time, kind of countering their own word, denying a lot of this and then confirming it. But regardless, what this has created is this news cycle. And every time, they say something else, it creates this new news cycle. Just recently with them posting those 3 videos that were in that original New York Times article, or at least 2 of them were in, then 2 stars released the 3rd soon after. That is old news, that happened years ago. But because they're talking about it again, it created big news just a few weeks ago. Yeah. So this is kind of, at least when we talk about the future of ufology, a positive step where we've got a lot more credibility. But how many more news cycles do we got with this, and how much legs does this story still have? What do you think?
Yeah, I want to answer that, but I want to ask you something, because this is actually something that I think is true, but something that I don't think I know every single detail. It's the way that Elizondo was able to get those videos cleared for release back in 2017. I think you were on top of this more than I was, but correct me if I'm wrong. It is my definite impression, just from having looked through some of the emails that existed back in, I think it was August of 2017, before TTSA announced themselves and before the videos were released, that Elizondo was working to get those UAP video released. And he did it in a way that I would characterize as maybe not quite saying sneaky, but definitely very, very quietly, kind of under the radar type of language. So not referring to them as UFO or UAP, and referring to them, I can't remember exactly how he did it, but as kind of just interesting advanced aircraft.